We meet again, Peter Pan. Well, it has only been 2 years since I viewed Spongecry.avi, and I'm far from recovering from such a shock after viewing that clip. My computer's been taken to Best Buy for repairs and to hopefully have the Spongecry.avi video eliminated from my PC forever by the Geek Squad. Hopefully it won't haunt the doorsteps of my mind ever again. I should be getting a call from them by the end of the week, if not longer. That would do my well-being a world of good, to see that godforsaken video of SpongeBob crying and turning into a decomposing, salty mess every 10 seconds gone forever. But one question lingers after I looked at the video clip that day. Who the hell wrote "one-timed action will be bedaldly" anyway? I went to a hacker friend of mine who was able to translate the gobbledygook that was in the video. Maybe he could tell me what it meant. He was much braver than I was to view the Spongecry.avi and asked me to leave the room. 17 years old, he had a lot of valor. After all, he was my best friend and he was willing to do anything. I heard him say to me, "Dude, it's fine. You can come back in. Video's not playing." After deciphering the text from the original Spongecry video, which was indeed written in the style of a preschooler, here's what he said. "One-time actions will be deadly." I looked at him skeptically. "What does that mean anyway?" I asked him. The voice I heard on the video, that of SpongeBob crying, was not Tom Kenny at all, he replied. "Well, that's all fine and dandy and everything, but what the hell does that have to do with the text you just translated?" He picked up his bottle of Crystal Pepsi that he'd been drinking, took a swig, picked up a Mountain Dew, took a swig of that as well, chewed on some Doritos and a Taco Bell taco, placed the glistening wet bottle down on his desk beside the other glistening wet bottle. "Dude," he said, calmly, "I'm getting to that. Don't worry. Shitty-looking scribble I saw that looked like it was written by a preschooler, it's too real to be CGI or using any video editing software. It was written by a person on an actual animation cell, which would explain why the crayon writing looked too real." We hit the road from Malibu to Los Angeles looking for answers. My friend was planning to have the video analyzed and to piece together the puzzle for when that video was made. "So that wasn't Tom Kenny's voice?" I asked him, as I watched the sun go down over the Malibu horizon as we drove. After all, it'd only be 50 minutes till we reached L.A. It was a woman's voice. Tom Kenny himself wouldn't break down and cry that real and intensely when he was doing any episode of SpongeBob. When you see crying on any episode, you know it's comical. But the woman who was heard crying in place of Tom, something didn't seem right, he said, dramatically. After going to the police with the story, here's what they said. On this one episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, Tom Kenny, who never missed a voice acting session in his life, took a sick leave and the episode was put on hold. A woman in her mid-20s, the same voice heard in the SpongeCry video, claimed she was a family member of Tom and said she could do any SpongeBob character voice known to man, especially SpongeBob, and asked the production crew, even Steven Hillenburg, the show's creator, if she could fill in for Tom while he was out sick. Well, they didn't see any harm done in that, but the one weird thing I couldn't put my finger on is, why would this woman ask the animation and audio crew to leave the room? Did she want to do this herself? Was she really that talented at animating and voice acting? Sure seemed like it. Since nobody was allowed to enter the recording studio where the voice actors went, and since it was soundproof, this gave the woman a lot of time to do the cartoon. I also found out that the cartoon was originally going to be no weenies allowed. But this young woman had entirely different plans for the episode. She looked at the script, where she stood near the microphone where Tom Kenny originally stands, was about to say her lines, and for no apparent reason she breaks down crying, screaming, as if she was crying over the loss of a loved one or finding a family member dead from a heart attack. Again, nobody bothered her. Nobody came into the studio. What seemed like an eternity was actually just 90 minutes. The woman came out of the studio, acting normal, even though she had teary-looking eyes. and ran into the voice talent behind Patrick Starr, who asked her, "You okay?" She told him that her tears, from where she was laughing too hard after reviewing the finished episode, were right there in her eyes, and then he smiled. And he chuckled, and he commented on her doing such a good job. And that was the end of the day. My friend's mother, who worked as a phone tapper for the LAPD, was able to identify the voice. The voice you heard in the clip was the ex-girlfriend of one of the animators at the Nickelodeon animation studio. She'd been stalking the animator after he got married. When he blew her off too many times, her actions became more and more erratic. She went so far as to kill and disembowel his poor dog. Other officers caught and arrested her for animal cruelty and stalking, my friend's mom told me. But why did the clip only last a near 7 minutes and the handwriting was done by a preschooler? What about that? I asked. That message was written by the woman's 3-year-old son, as per her request. The cartoon itself was supposed to last 30 minutes like any other SpongeBob episode, or 22 minutes plus commercials. The other half of the cartoon became lost in the internet. Could be anywhere. The police commissioner who came into the office was carrying a cup of coffee for me, yet another Mountain Dew for my best friend, and a bottled water for my friend's mom. "I overheard you talking about the lost SpongeBob episode that was supposed to be filmed in place of No Weenies Allowed," he said, giving us our drinks. "What do you know about the cartoon?" I asked. I was feeling tired and hungry. The coffee he gave me should be able to perk me up during this time. I felt like I wanted to sleep for a damn year. "Rumor has it that the cartoon never aired and No Weenies Allowed was shown instead, which was a big load off everyone's shoulders. My 2 little daughters are big SpongeBob fans, and so am I. Anyway, I was reading an article on Yahoo which said that the cartoon you were talking about got circulated via mobile text message. So if that's the case, and anyone finds it, we can put an end to this mess," the police commissioner said. At that moment, where I thought that everything was working out fine, I felt my stomach freeze as I noticed a message displayed on my iPhone. 1 missed call. I was about to brush it off and thought it was just another telemarketer trying to sell me something. Probably another penis in a larger pump, until I noticed the attached item that came with the message. "What is it, man?" my friend asked. He noticed the look of concern and confusion on my face. "I think I found the cartoon," I replied, my voice nearly fading. "Open the video," the police commissioner said firmly but calmly. My friend's mom was anxious to see the other half of the cartoon. After the video roared to life, it didn't resume like a video would that you see on YouTube when you go to part 2 or whatever. Sure, the regular introduction, with Patchy the Pirate being his old jolly self, kids singing the SpongeBob SquarePants theme, SpongeBob playing the flute with his nose. After the created by Steven Hillenburg byline was displayed, I didn't hear any music, just the sound of a heart beating. Then very faintly, various news report audio clips. Authorities continue to release details of the murders. They still have no explanation as to why it all happened. I then heard the sound of a woman weeping softly. This was starting to get a little scary. The clips continued. The medical examiner says he expects to positively identify most victims. A file cabinet in the refrigerator and open boxes. The police department continues to be flooded with calls from families with missing loved ones. Says he killed even more. Arrested on suspicion of mass murder. Some of these murders at least have been committed outside the city limits. The title screen came up. SpongeBob Cry 2. A fucking sequel? Just as I remembered, SpongeBob in his big red chair, all the furniture gone, poor little Gary laying dead from salt, lifeless, mauled beyond recognition. I wanted to cry because I saw Gary dead. Poor little fella. My heart hurt for him, but I just tried to remain calm. As SpongeBob continued to get more and more decayed, looking like a putrefied mess after every 10 seconds, it became when he cried, stopped, turned, looked at the viewer. His skin was already a mucky-looking mess, and he looked like Carrion wearing his trademark shirt, shoes, little red tie. All SpongeBob ever did in the first video was cry and puke up salt, but he now started to speak.
So is this what it will like to talk to you, Evan?
Evan was the name of one of the animators of the Nickelodeon animation studio for SpongeBob.
Why couldn't it have been you to ask me as your wife instead of Stephanie? She doesn't love you. I loved you. You love that stupid dog, too, more than me. I know I was stupid to turn you down in high school, but I was a stupid girl back then. I didn't know any better. I was young and stupid. You happy? I wanted to be your lover, but I was too busy having my head up Eric's ass to even care. You're right. I was using Eric and making him look like a fool. I wanted to marry him. But I was so young and stupid. You had every right to threaten me when I was messing with you and your family. It was my own damn fault for costing you a lover those years ago. I had a mental illness, but I didn't want to tell you because I was afraid you'd hate me forever. But I guess you do, don't you? Georgia told me not to kill your beautiful dog, but I went ahead and did it anyway. I killed your fucking Malamute, baby. The reason why I told Georgia about you is I wanted her to know how sweet you were and how much I loved you, but I guess you're never going to love me. Aren't you? Since I was pregnant with our child, I knew you were never going to love me. I just thought I'd ruin your life by ruining your favorite cartoon. SpongeBob nearing decomposition. As the lamentation and commentary continued, SpongeBob now turned into a Walking Dead skeleton as the crying got more violent and he continued to talk. But as I said, this wasn't Tom Kenny's voice at all. This was a mentally insane woman who had driven away every boyfriend she ever had because of her severe manic depression. She never admitted it to anyone because she thought it would have made her weak and everyone would leave her and she'd go from popular to unpopular in the blink of an eye. When SpongeBob started to become a graveyard-like skeleton, the inside of his house started to decay from years of neglect. The wallpaper peeling off the wall. The salt mounds spread all over everywhere as if a violent cyclone had stormed on in, and Gary was now a putrefied mass. My best friend, despite the fact that he remained calm, puked in a wastebasket after seeing Gary, a dark green puddle of slime and rotting flesh, and his shell now aged. Until you accept me back into your life, Evan, I'm going to continue to wreak havoc on you, the animators at your precious Nickelodeon studio, your friends, your family, your life in general. You don't deserve Stephanie! I'm sorry you hate me. I'm sorry you hate me. I'm sorry you don't want me back in your life. I know we can only be friends, but I don't care if you hate me or not. I still love you. So does Georgia. So do all my friends. Oh. The next thing I remember seeing in the Savage cartoon was, as the crying became less intense and softened, oddly, SpongeBob's furniture returned to his house, materializing on demand, hopping back into place with a comical cartoony pop, 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 pop sound. The wallpaper appearing on the inside of his pineapple like new, a light shining from above on the now rotted away puddle of sludge that was Gary, now bringing him back to life. And all the salt went right back into the salt container, while I heard an angelic heavenly choir singing and a soothing twinkling sound, with stardust encircling him, returning him to his normal happy little self. Gary was alive! Seeing him alive, but now on the floor where he once lay dead, was now producing his cute little snoring meows. Oh, the little guy was tired. SpongeBob himself started to come back to life, from being a rotting, putrefied skeleton to his normal spongy self. SpongeBob was still sad. He went over to where his sleeping snail was, gave him a kiss on one of his eye stalks, and walked back to his bedroom. Still in the woman's voice, I heard her say very softly through her tears,
I'm sorry. Then a TV test pattern showed up at the end of the video after a cut to black sequence. Turns out the lovesick, fatal attraction-esque woman was the one behind the Spongecry episode. She was at one point a sought-after horror film animator who just had a nervous breakdown after she'd been dumped. Which would explain SpongeBob turning into a ghoul. Creator Steven Hillenburg reported the woman to police and was scheduled to have her appear in court. She refused to testify against Nickelodeon Animation Studios and later committed suicide out of remorse. I was fortunate enough to delete part 2 of the Spongecry episode from my iPhone, and since this whole mystery was solved, I'll be able to sleep better at night from now on. A little post-mortem advice to the lovesick girl who made Evan's life a living hell. He said he didn't want to have anything to do with you, and he's happy with his new wife and life. When a guy drops your salty ass, no means no. Bitch.